Thank you for tuning. Today, I have with us Irina, which you know from Azur Agency, and her counterpart, teammate, Fernando from Dark Mode Devs, up and coming developer, IT programmer, coder, guru in the making. Appreciate you both being here with us. Say hi to the people.
Hello.
Awesome. We have a very interesting topic today, as always. It's kind of briefly titled going to be how education as a product works. And then we're going to look at the case of intellectual property. Now, there's a lot of perceived value from the educational system from the outside looking in. And over the last half a century or more, the further you go back, the more useful it was. Give a high level overview of both you guys' takes on just higher learning in general and pros and cons that you see, and then we'll get into what I have prepared for us today.
I think the pro of the higher level education is that it's a guided path. I remember a discussion from yesterday is about the guidance and people wanting to be guided, wanting to be directed, wanting to have a path. Because when we're growing up, we're going through high school, and when we're graduating high school, our mindset is not developed yet, fully developed yet until pretty much 25. And that's the time when the guided education is taking its course from 18 pretty much to 25, and that's when we're developing based on a certain curriculum when we feel like we don't know which path to take. When we do feel like when we know the path to take, that's when we deviate and learn ourselves.
Okay. Fernando?
Like modern day, so like my experience is the same thing in a way. You got the guided path, but uh, at the same time, for me, it's the force behind the degree when you get it, the recognition of it, and what depending on say you have a role that you can apply for at a company and they require that degree, then that's something that's not going to hold you back. So it just depends on the outlook, where your end game is when you're looking to apply for a job, like your career field, whether it's going to require a degree or whether it's 50-50, because not everyone's going to require a degree. And then just with my experience, learning in a university setting has been different than learning like at a coding boot camp or like self-taught. So like everybody's like, with my experience, or like with mentorship, for example, when I was mentored, it's like, but I believe like all these different paths, they all have their pros and cons. And like just looking at an institutional level, when you think about a university setting and coding boot camp, and I'm gonna just talk about my experience in the learning software in those settings. The university is a lot more in depth than a coding boot camp. A coding boot camp does show you what you need, but it's gonna move faster and it's a little bit more crash course here. But like that's just like what I would say about the two just for now.
Okay. Okay, great starts there. And that's actually what a lot of people in different ways are looking at. You're going to get more in depth, more in a lot of applications at the university level, the college level. The small hyper focus is going to be that quick alternative to get you on path. It's normally like probably going to give you some certifications instead of a degree, stuff like that. So you bring up a lot of great points, especially when you're talking about the value of being accepted in a certain arena. So let's take a look real quick at I should have pulled up a slide, but I didn't create one because intellectual property is not like in the etymology dictionary as a phrase. But intellectual property is a category of property that includes intangible creations of the human intellect. So it says there, and this is per Wikipedia, there are many types of intellectual property in some countries recognized more than others. The best known types are patents, copyrights, trademarks, and trade secrets. Okay. So when you look at that definition of intellectual property, it it very well mirrors the benefits associated with a degree of some sort, right? Um, a high level overview of your thought of that. I know that may be a first impression of that comparison.
How does an intellectual property, a patent, resemble a degree?
Good question. Good question.
Degree
So
is more of a recognition for something that you've done. Okay, I see how it can relate to it. That's something that you've done, that it's a recognition, and it's a pretty much a legal document that proves that you've done certain years, you've done certain studies that are accredited by a certain institution and act as pretty much a proof that you know or you've done something.
okay, Fernando.
Uh, like tying the two together, I don't know. I'm the type to likes to like compartmentalize and like keep them like separate, and then like go into the defined distinctions. But like the uh, I'm a little hesitant to like tie the two concepts together necessarily, like or say they're along the same lines. But like I would say that there to me is like a fine distinction there between a college education or college degree. But I see how they can relate as far as when you're on your learning path and you're creating things along the way. Part of what you create in your college courses, when you're building projects in like a software setting, that's still projects that belong to you, that are your intellectual property that the college lets you take with you when you graduate.
Okay, so those are great starting points because when you look at big business, they look at each one person as representing at least 60,000 people because of the way communication spreads, especially about experiences, right? So, and then those 60,000 people each represent 60,000 people, and you see how we get astronomical exponential increase thereafter, right? So, this is going to be a great conversation to showcase the similarities, which is going to showcase the dangers, and then provide the opportunities with which you and Irina indirectly may not be thinking about it in such light, but are developing and working on the solution for. And I'll tie that all together throughout this conversation. So let's take it one step at a time. So a college degree, right, can be seen as a certification of the individual's production within the quote unquote educational factory, right? It signifies, from my notes here, the completion of a specific program of study, thus, can be equated to a product being manufactured. Now, the manufacturer's certificate of origin, in context of humans as a product, could be seen as documentation of the individual's origin from the educational system, right? Certifying that person has undergone the process, like a manufacturing process within the factory of education. So let's just start there and look at and compare and contrast the factory of education for profit to any other manufacturing plant that we can pull off the top of our head, because what we know is 34% of employed college grads could have gotten their current jobs without a college degree. So let's start there, because Fernando, you said it directly when you said it allows you to get acceptance, but go ahead.
Who wants to go first? She's been going first this whole time, so I don't mind. I'll go first. All right. So like I feel like you don't necessarily need a college degree to be accepted. So like I'm not gonna sit here and argue that university path is like absolute, like that you have to do it to get anywhere in life, because I don't believe that. I believe like a person's drive and will, their perseverance, like things like that, like they're not gonna let, like if there's a mountain in front of them, they're gonna climb it, you know what I mean? Or whatever it is that's in the way, they're gonna do what they got to do to get what they need, get where they need to get. Right. And I think there's so many fields in life where people can find success. Doesn't mean necessarily you have to be rich to find success, but there are a lot of other fields too that'll make you rich at the same time. So I think just everybody, depends on what they're pursuing, but I feel like the university is just like for me. Um, I kind of grew up during a time too when like the university was like, okay, if you're gonna pursue a career, like a career outside of blue collar work, then the normal path was to go to university. But that's not. That's why I chose the university in my past when I used to work as an architectural draftsman. But the reason I chose the university now was because I understood that I did a little bit more research and talked to some mentors, and they were guiding me on the difference between an education in software in the university and at a boot camp. And because of my goals at the time, my dream career, they said if I wanted my dream career, I would be more likely to achieve success there if I had because I was at the boot camp at the time. They said I finished the boot camp and then I get my computer science and artificial intelligence degree. That would put me. I guess you could say it would show that I've been well trained, well prepared, and put me like I guess you could say because I hate to say it, but like a step ahead of people that don't have that, but that are applying for the same position, especially if the job, like if they say it's recommended but not required. And you're applying for a job, they say, you know, they recommend that you have a college degree, but it's not required, or that you're in pursuit of a college degree, but it's not required. They're basically telling you, from my perspective, that if you're pursuing one or you already have one, that's the person they're gonna look at like first.
Okay.
Like they're yeah, you know what I mean. Like and everybody like that I've spoken to, um, that I know of that are like my mentors that have went down the same path. Because not all my mentors have been, you know, some of them have been self-taught, some of them have went through a coding boot camp and succeeded, and some of them have went through a university, or some of them have even been through a combination. But I have some that have just went through just the university and nothing else, and no matter the path, they've all found success. Like
Okay.
even self-taught, even though that's more rare, people have found even success being self-taught software engineers. So like that's what I mean is like I don't believe not any one path is gonna, you know, is absolute, but I believe that largely depends on the person and their learning curve, their ability to learn, and their will, their how much they comprehend and enjoy what they're trying to do too. So I think there's a lot of factors there.
At the core, um, I agree with the self-taught, self-education analogy. I had a whole discussion on LinkedIn over the last 24 hours about that. But we'll bring that into the conversation in a little while. Let's get to Irina's point perspective on it.
I went to the graphic design degree because my grandma taught me how to draw, and I was able to draw with a pencil and paper. And from my dad's point of view, artists don't make much money and they can't make a living, and most of them fail. So I thought, what makes money? What uses art? And what uses some ability of drawing? And I thought graphic design does. I started a graphic design degree because I felt like I don't know where to go, and out of not knowing, I knew that somebody else does. And in the university, they seem like people that know where they're going or where they're taking what they're teaching, pretty much a path to learning and becoming a graphic designer. And it was because I went through graphic design curriculum, I went through an internship, I got into self-employment, I got into a job that is graphic designer. So it worked perfectly, super smoothly. And I figured out that it's less about drawing, more about psychology, more about people, more about selling. So I learned a lot along the way, and I found a lot of people too, and it initiated the ideas for Azur, 6 years ago. That's the place that created our logo, our diamond logo. We got a lot of benefit out of it, and no cost too, because I fully was sponsored by financial aid.
Awesome. So I think I appreciate both aspects of where you're at. And what is at the core of it is there's an opportunity for the mentality of our communities to grow beyond and evolve into enlightenment instead of the commercial format that's currently in place. Indirectly, you're both showcasing the same thing, even though you're saying it differently. Um, you, Irina, were drawing before you went and got training on it, so to speak. Let's just call it training. Fernando sees the value of someone can actually sit and learn how to do this, although it may not be as catalytic or take it could take them longer, could take them less amount of time, who knows. But ultimately at the core of that is the community needs to come together to appreciate and value the people that we have in our community that may be learned outside of the factory of the university, the college, the programs, certifications, because especially as the CIA put it, we're in the intelligence age right now. If Fernando wanted to, if Irina wanted to, you both can sit home and become masters of your craft from YouTube College, right? For free. The thing is, when you go to the job market to fit in there, to be accepted, to be authenticated, right? You need that standard manufacturing certificate of origin. So that's recognition and standardization. So the college degree, similar to how products, going back to my notes here, similar to how products from a factory might bear standardized features like your car, power brakes, power steering, fog lamps, standard, right? A college degree signifies the standardized level of knowledge and skills. Okay. Then later on, we'll get to how that little add lines on there could be a specialty or what you're specializing in, just like special features or additional features. So the manufacturer certificate of origin also certifies, the certificate also involves standardized information about the origin of a product. So now what I want you guys to look at from your own experience and speak on this. What are the pros and what are the cons, the limitations, the dangers, the control of standardization in any application? Whoever wants to go first.
I believe that's largely whether the institution is for profit or not, because even the United States government recognizes that when you have institution that's for profit, eventually they might start well and end really badly because they eventually they're geared towards profit, not necessarily the success of their students. And I was part of an institution like that in the past. I went to ITT Technical Institute to learn how to become an architect, and they lied to me about everything. They lied to me about being fully accredited. They lied to me about taking only one loan out to fund my education. I ended up finding out years later that they took out up to 9 loans. They lied a lot because they were a for-profit institution at the time, and at the time I was really really young. I was about 19, 20 when I started there, and I didn't understand the difference between a profit and for-profit institution and the dangers of for-profit institutions. And not all of them are dangerous, but like this one was at the time, and they were part of the uh, predatory loans on students that was turned into a class action lawsuit against a bunch of these um, institutions that were out there. And I ended up getting that loan, all those loans, forgiven by the that they pulled out that were federal loans. I ended up getting them forgiven by the
The banks,
Department of
financial.
Education. No, yeah, the Department of Education, and then some of the one of the institutions that they got privately, they ended up settling out for about like they settled out a $30,000 loan for like one of their loans. That was one of many, but they settled out about $30,000 worth of loans. I think that it was like four of the loans that they pulled out, and then the rest were all federal. But the four that they settled out was about $30,000 for about $1,500 because of the situation. They were willing to go so low, and because the time lapse, and because I couldn't use the education from there, nobody would accept the credits because it's not an accredited institution. So that's one example of how a system can fail us, and I believe it's largely because the people that are in place there are corrupt.
Okay.
I don't believe that that institution itself, because it's just a system that has to be ran by an intelligence like people. I think it's people that the corrupt people running these things that corrupt them. But the university that I go to now, They are a for-profit private university, but they are like not just they are fully accredited, and they have state agencies and government organizations hiring their graduates. They have big tech companies hiring their graduates, and the professors there and the faculty there are like great, like, and they're always helpful, and they're not there just to, like, you could tell their mindset is just they have not lied to me yet, and I've been there. I'm in my junior year right now, so like that's what I mean. The difference between for profit, when the an institution's for profit, you have to really do your research. Like that's what I did before I just selected a university. I
Mhm.
was doing all my research to see what's like, to back up what they're saying. They tell me one thing, and I'd go research it and see if they lied to me or not, just because of my experience in the past when I was younger. Um, but a not for profit, like, some institutions that ain't out there for profit, they're more public. Um, that I don't like. We haven't really heard of much corruption going on there, but I'm not saying there can't be. But my experience has just been that, like, I know in life that we have all these institutions in place, and corrupt people could take advantage of that. You know
Okay.
what I mean? So
Yeah.
like that's just how I feel about it. And there's good people out there, and I feel like the good people out there are the people that we need in places like that, where they're teaching the next generation, or they're teaching, even not even just the next generation, the older generations that are just trying to make a career switch, or make a better future. Like there should it's really crucial to have the right people.
That's a good point, and I appreciate you sharing that because a lot of people are experiencing that for themselves and bringing to light the potential for corruption and the danger what happens when people focus on money. Simon Sinek said, "Poor leadership manipulates the people to grow the money. Great leadership manipulates the money to grow the people." Let's go to Irina and get her take on the.
So, first of all, I want to talk about the pro of formal education. Through my personal experience with people working in a department of um the best mortgage company here in Tucson, the Loan Realty Group, and what I found out, their education was way back when, so they had to educate themselves. And being self-taught, I believe one of them, I believe, did not take an education. He'd just been working there for 40 years. And being self-taught, it's functional, it's practical, they can do the job, but they were missing some of the information that helps improve their productivity. They were not learning certain things that the formal education taught me to be able to improve the system so it's more productive. They were taking a long time to accomplish the same thing that took me, person who's just coming in on the job and just started to learn what they're doing first. And then the danger of formal education, I would say, is the complacency. Some people may feel like it's enough, like the knowledge that they received is enough, and they don't need to self-educate themselves beyond the formal education. They might feel like they already know things, and they don't learn from other people that learned it a different way, or that show them a different way, that they might feel like they're superior because they learn from professor so and so, and they're from Harvard University, and they know enough, and they close their mindset to being able to change, and that brings into a danger of being unable to adapt to things changing, because right now the technology is evolving, so the curriculums are outdated. It takes a while to approve curriculums, and the world is changing, so the jobs are becoming obsolete. Some of the jobs are changing. Being able to adapt is a very crucial skill in the current world.
I think that's very well said. And we were just speaking on your posts on LinkedIn about, and one of my feedback was that people value direction, right? So it gives them comfort, right? It gives them the reassurance of feeling like they've satisfied certain criteria, right? To become let's say they may not explain it like this or say it like this, but to be authenticated and accepted by others for whatever they're going after. So people like the comfort of direction. Now, there's a great opportunity for exploration, which is part of self-education, right? Because if you go, like, I had opportunity in many different industries, like let's say music, right? I I don't want to mention names, but I know people. So when you know people, they're like, hey, this is what you need to do, and this is how you make a beat. Go learn to make a beat. Um, take somebody else's beat that's famous, and then reverse engineer it. Learn how they did it, and then you'll learn how to, right? But the problem is, if you do that, you're only learning the potential limitations of what came before you. Now, it's no discount to, they meant well, right? But they're talking to someone who values the self exploration, because if you go and stumble across it yourself, you can find the basic structures online if you want, but then you can go into, hey, I just found this, let me do this, what does this rabbit hole lead me down? And next thing you know, you have your own style, creation, method. It makes you stand out in a saturated market, no matter what industry you are, right? So but the value of direction, at the same time, the pros of it is it helps you verify that you met the requirements and controls. Because let's get back to my notes to move the conversation forward. The educational system, the college degree, basically is a verification, because there are controls in place to maintain the quality and credibility of education, the factory. Just like the quality control department of your car manufacturing place, or your skin cream production line, or your keyboard computer manufacturer, they all have quality control in place to verify and maintain quality and credibility of what they're producing. So now let's compare and contrast that to the higher learning certificate of approval manufacturer's certification of origin, called a degree.
I love quality control. Because of that, my computer's not failing all the time. Sometimes, most of the time.
Oh, hold on. Excuse me, Fernando.
Yeah.
Here, just. Oh, I thought you said something. Because you're in the same room, there is some feedback at times. So what I'm doing in the background is I'm regulating the volume on both of you guys.
Mhm.
So if I miss something, just give me a second. I'll catch you if you said something. I thought you said something.
That's basically what I wanted to say, is the quality control is a good thing.
Okay.
If you don't know any better, then you just go into a system that helps you quality control, and then you start believing in yourself more. Okay, I'm verified. Because I was not believing in myself, not at all. I'm like, where am I supposed to go? I have no clue. I just came out of high school. They've been telling me what to do. Now I'm like free on my own. And what do I do next?
Now, Irina, from the standpoint, while you have the floor, continue, please, from the level or perspective of innovation stagnation.
Innovation stagnation.
Because if they're regulating what they want, the whole, think about it, let's make up a number. 1 million people go through this program. 1 million people naturally wouldn't have the same exact ideas on what the product that they would create, right, as a creator, would look like. However, when they come out the back end of this product, it's all very similar. So speak on that dynamic for a moment.
I wouldn't say it's similar. I would say that if they learn the basics and they don't have a passion in it, that they don't love what they learned, or didn't learn to love. Because education gives you the tools, but it doesn't give you the passion itself. The passion comes from the inside. And that the passion, regardless of what you can or can't do, over whatever you can learn, it's going to inspire you to learn if you need to learn. And it's going to inspire you to create something original, to create something great. And even if you and somebody else learned and dissected the beats of somebody who is great, and then you created the music out of it, your creations are going to be way different. They're not going to be the same because you have a different mind, you have a different perspective, you have a different feel, you perceive different things. They're going to be different. They're not going to be the same.
Okay. So what we've done there is we've shown the value of standardization. The critical component is the level of enthusiasm that the person has while in that program. Because what we are talking about is that the majority of people are just wanting the direction. And when they get into whatever position in life, whether it's the education opportunity themselves or on the job, they want to do just the bare minimum. So for the most of people that want to do just the bare minimum, they're going to go in, get the bare minimum of the instruction they need to go do the bare minimum at work to maintain the bare minimum quality of life that they're after.
It's
Now, in support of, well, okay, let me say this, and then if you got feedback, I'll give it back to Floor, and then we'll go to Fernando. Because indirectly we're supporting what's Fernando brought, which is the high level overview of the conversation to begin with, but the self-taughtness of it, right? Because now you're going into the percentage of people that are going to be creative and take that foundational, standardized, basic learning from it and then go do amazing things with it beyond the norm. That goes back to the self-education mind who's going to go beyond and go extra. The ones that are the majority of going through the valuing this process are ones that appreciate direction and just want to do the bare minimum. Any additional thoughts, and then we'll go to Fernando.
I'd have to verify that. If the majority is the one that stops there, if they become stagnant, if they stop learning, because the professors that I've seen that are in college, they don't stop learning. So the example that they show for people is to go beyond the education, the formal education that they thought, and go and explore. So the self-education aspect of interesting people in certain things, it's there. So it ignites people to learn more, to go out and explore if they take it. If they don't take it, I don't know how many people don't take it, because I don't know where my peers ended up after college. I should find out.
Okay. Good observation from your standpoint. Let's expand the observation to what we see in reality in the economy, in the nation. We can see the effects of it because everything is standardized, and very few and very little go outside of that standardization. And as a byproduct of that, the community itself has been conditioned to only value those that fit the mold, which is why the accreditation of the college is valued to begin with, and then difficult to utilize in some applications. So when Fernando spends 20,000 hours learning his craft at home by himself and wants to go do a project for even someone in the community or business, it's a level of difficulty to overcome that challenge to even get that opportunity, because they want to grill you about your experience, not realizing that you can be even better than what a college degree would have put you for some people on your own. Irina goes to do a project on graphic design, logo production. They want to know if you've been to whatever mastering class or school so they can feel more comfortable. So it's an opportunity for our community to value the fact that people can learn for themselves and be just as creative and just as successful in production for the community. Let's see what Fernando has to say.
All right. So like I feel like somewhat like what she said about, the stagnation and people's drive, like the passion involved. Like you got to love what you're doing. Because I have seen being a university student, and I've seen it even in the boot camp. People, when they learn concepts and then they ask them to implement it, some people just implement it at the most basic level, just enough to get a passing grade, and they don't care if it's the best passing grade, just enough to get the passing grade and move forward. And they don't realize that they're squandering the resources or the tools and the connections that they have at the time. They're just squandering it. But I guess the way the industry would categorize like top talent, would be people, no matter what path they chose to learn, are the people that continue to educate themselves, because in software it's always evolving. You got to always keep up to date with everything. You're like, it's a lifelong learning journey. Even when this institution stops, or even if you were self-taught from the beginning with, it's never going to stop. It's just self-taught the rest of the way. um, but the I think that it's the creative side of people. That's why they look for passion and top talent, not just like the highest IQs, but the people that know how to go out there and keep evolving and learning more, staying up to date with things, and being creative enough to try to create new things. But the like, if you're just going to be the status quo, I agree that there's going to be too much competition for you, because then you're going to fit a certain mold and you're going to look just like every other mold passing through. And if it was me personally, I'm going to pick the person that stands out. Like, I'm not like, the creative person, the person that knows how to keep learning, the person that went above and beyond. Like, if I had asked, like, if I asked a few people to build the same website, I would look for the person that like went above and beyond and that had more creativity besides uh, just bare minimum, like, training. So, because you could see it in what they produce. But the thing is that I feel like, I guess, I don't know how to describe it, because I believe you can find top talent like at more than just the institution. But I feel like when I was like in different institutions, there was a lot of people that were like really, really, really intelligent there, or like they really, really had a handle on what they were doing more than people in different settings, just because they were the ones like me that were taking advantage of the tools, the resources, and the connections they had available at their disposal at the time. Like, they're right there, doing more than what they're asked. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great real life assessment, and it made me think of when I got started doing photography. Right, I was I got into doing photography by someone who had a master's degree in photography. Like, actually took photography to the level of PhD, right, on the education side. And I remember they used to be like talking to me about aperture and f-stop and all this. Was like 15 years ago. Like, um, I was like, for me though, I was able to produce a great photography career, which I still use today. The basic comprehension of, right, and a lot of stuff that I do. Um, from the chapter about light in physics class. That's literally what I built my whole photography understanding on. Is simply one chapter from high school about light. So it would be talking f-stop, aperture. You want more light or less light? Because I could naturally in my mind see, okay, bounce the light off of here, boom, it's gonna saturate. So I turn it up, what fades and bleeds over it. Like, that's how I process the whole thing about photography. So what happens is everybody is smart. You know what I mean? Because I'm one of those kids that, and maybe I had a different, maybe I'm on the opposite side of the spectrum of abuse from, the non-acceptance portion, right? Because I was that kid that lived next door to you, smoked weed after school with you and everything, but I was in the advanced gifted program and was studying Greek mythology and analogies in third grade. So could you imagine talking to other third graders? Like, I never fit in. I had one trip to the National Science Olympiad competition, and I got 3 top 10 finishes in 3 different events. I've tested in the top 5 percentile my whole life. Most recently, the top 2% with an official 34 Wonderlic score. It's a fucking prison that I live every day, right? And what I mean by that is, everybody is smart. Like, when people are, oh, you're smart. No, I'm in a prison. Okay, that means that 98% of the conversations I have is going to require more effort. And like you said, people, we're agreeing and exposing here, people really only want to do the bare minimum. A lot of them. I'm not putting a number out there or a percentage, but a lot, right? So now what happens is, it's not that I'm smarter than somebody else. It's experience and exposure. Fernando, what you can learn in the crash course IT program, and let's say it's a 2-year program, somebody else could come out with the experience, but they might need 4.5 years to grasp it on the same level, right? So really, what it is just one person needs 4 years, one person needs 2, but at the end, they're both capable. They're both of equally opportunity or opportune, whatever the proper saying would be, to arrive at that destination. Irina, when you go to graphic design school and they say this is how the industry does it, for many people it compresses their ability to create or think creatively into, oh no, if I think outside the box I won't be accepted, which stifles innovation in some applications. Not to say there's not the people like us that are going to go beyond that's going to go beyond anyway, right? Which is why we get exiled in some cases, because we kept going beyond the walls and the borders that they put up for us, right? So I appreciate both of you guys' side. I think going through that, and I think in the conversation itself proves the value of the whole format away and saying let's embrace the creativity, which now gets us to the refinement of that area. Because if you go the self-education aspect, like Fernando brought up, is even Irina said it, because things evolve. So if you go into your industry, you get your degree, and you're not continuing to focus on self-education, you're not looking for the upgrades, the developments, the evolution, right? You're overlooking people in conversation that may be saying something to you, because that's observation, and conversation is also an opportunity for self-education on a daily basis. But here, let's move into the next portion, right? The purpose and specialization. So degrees often signify specialization in a particular field, reflecting the idea of a product with unique qualities. Same way the manufacturer's certificate of origin on a product serves as the purpose of certifying the origin of the product, indicating its unique characteristic. Now let's go into that aspect of the niche, or if you had some additional stuff to say at this point from what we covered thus far, please let me know your thoughts for the people.
Fernando, go ahead. I missed the meaning of a question. I need an example.
Here, I'll repeat. So the degree often showcases the specialization in a particular field.
Specialization in a field. Right. Okay.
So it's going to mention remember we talked about the basic degree is standard products and features, right? Standard features, right? Now when you get into specialization, you're adding the special unique qualities, right? The unique features, just like what we mentioned on the manufacturer's certificate of origin, that this product, look at it like this. You got eggs, and then you got organic.
Okay, I get it now.
You know, so it's a
I get it now.
Yeah, go ahead. Whoever wants to go first, though.
Graphic design, big umbrella. A lot of things are involving graphic design, and it would be easier if I picked a niche, one of the specialization, like a UI UX designer, like a mobile designer, like a logo designer, like pick a niche. It would have been so much more easier for me to gain clients, to sell myself, to get a job, to market myself. It would have been easier because less people compete in specific areas, because if you're picking a specific area, you got less amount of people in that specific area, and that's the people you compete with. As a graphic designer, you're competing with all the people that pick specialization, because you're in a big umbrella. You pretty much can do anything, and you're competing with each sector in their field. As a generalist, it's really challenging to do that, because specific jobs typically involve specific items. And those specific items are usually specialized with specific people. So a path into a regular career was a challenge unless I networked, unless I got to know people, unless I went through connections. So talking about specialization in a university, in a regular career path, it's a better way to go if the career is a goal. Yeah, for me, freedom was the goal. I wanted to do a lot of things. I wanted to be able to do a lot of things. And my first portfolio, I have it up right now at Irina Mityugova.me. Uh, that's the portfolio I had in college. I got a C for it. Um, and um, and it says I want to be a unicorn. The unicorns exist. I can do everything. And I I hated going through college. I hated with a passion. I didn't want to be in college, and I was one of those people that were lazy, that would just do enough to pass a class. So that's why it's just you guys cranking up on me. Uh, I was one of those people not passionate about projects, doing the bare minimum, just passing with classes, and that's how I graduated. So, well, certain classes that I loved was one of them was public speaking. I was not expecting myself to love that one, but I was like, this is the most challenging thing for me, and I love it, and I'm gonna go ahead and do it because the reason I hated it was because I wasn't good at it. I was good at art, but in graphic design, I was not good at it. I'm still not good at it.
Do
Oh,
you
I mean,
think
maybe good, like decent, but not good to the point where I see another person's graphic design and I'm like, okay, that's like my level. No, I see another person's graphic design and I see that, I suck.
do you okay, so do you think that one okay, that actually proves that what I was saying about for the community, like for everybody, because we all have those moments where we feel like that, right? Number one, nobody's extinct from that or excused from that. The question is, do you think why do people allow that gaslighting? I call it gas. It's naturally gas. It's actually gaslighting because now you're putting yourself pressure on yourself by through comparison of what somebody else said was the standardization. You said you got a C on your portfolio.
Mhm.
Know how people feel with a C compared to an A, generally speaking. However, to the right person, it'll give you $5 million for that portfolio. If the right person saw it, they would buy it from you. Two and three recent grads are earning less than 60K because of conformity, right? So what I think is important is that we value the destination, not the direction. Because once we agree on a destination, now you can ding, 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 your lights go off, and you find all these creative ways that you could help. Fernando and Irina can help the community, and the people watching can help the community arrive at a destination in their own genuine, unique style and fashion, right? Because what we're focused on is not fitting ROI justifications and stuff like that, right? But that's what it is. That's one of the dangerous elements of conformity. And then the other part is, are you really feeling like you didn't do well in graphic design course, or that Fernando may have saw people struggling in his coding class? Was it them, or was it just that they're being forced to learn a certain way that maybe not best for them? And if you put them in a different environment, in a different way of learning, they could have excelled where other people wouldn't have. What do you want to continue, Irina, and then we can go to Fernando, or let me know.
I feel like it's because of the passion. When a person is passionate about the what they're doing, what they're crafting, if they feel that they're going the right way, that's when they put in the time and the effort, and that's when they excel. When the person is not passionate, oh, and then and then let me see, and then they do
People
the
are
work,
passionate. Okay.
that they do the work, and they feel like they have to, they're pushing themselves, and that's where I felt trapped, and I felt like I have to push myself, I have to do it, like something that you don't want to do, just keep going at it, keep persevering, because you gotta finish it. uh and my emotional state at that point was excited and not excited, very depressed, excited, like up and down, all of that, a roller coaster. And then, yeah, it took effort.
I think I thank you for sharing that. And what you mentioned earlier, a few moments ago, was critical about your desire for freedom, right? And that's what it is. When you go to these institutions, they create a conformity, and that may separate people from their desire of freedom, which may be a block to their innovation itself. Fernando, please continue.
All right. So like from my experience, so like it's from my experience, it's kind of similar as far as like the creative side. I know that the professors or the instructors are always trying to push people to be more creative and go outside the box. So like they tell you these are the basic tools to accomplish the task, but I want you to do more than that. Basically, they're telling you, in other words, do more than that to push yourself, and they want you to see the unique you representative or represented in the product that you produce. So like if you're, when you're going for web and application design and development like I did, and they ask you to build a front end of an app or a website, they want to see, like, even if they gave you a subject to build, they want to see, they're not looking just for you to like cut and paste and replicate what they already got, because that's what the majority do. They really want you to take your personality and your creativity and inject it into it. Still have all the software concepts and syntax on point, but that doesn't mean that, like, when you understand it, that still does not cut off creativity. The software, like, I mean, with software can be unlimited. Like, you can build whatever you want, do whatever you want, like make things look the way you want, make things function the way you want. There's no excuse to be like tied down. um but yeah, I've noticed, like, my mentors at an apprenticeship when I spent 8 months there. That was with Underdog Devs, and then I noticed when I spent my time at the university and even at the boot camp, I like feel like everybody was uh, pushing everybody to be unique, like, to be better, like not to just skate by. But I know when you mentioned, and oh yeah, they were also pushing specialization because um, you're gonna become better when you master. Like, for example, in software development, doesn't matter what field you're in, but like I'm gonna talk about web and application development specifically. But like when you have, for example, if you're a React developer or you're an Angular developer, these are all JavaScript frameworks. And but say the guy that wants to know Angular, he wants to know React, he wants to know Svelte, he wants to know Solid, and he's doing all these things at once. He's more of a generalist. He doesn't have the time, and he's not going into detail, fine tuning and specializing in one framework, which would make him more valuable. So like I think that the when you specialize in one framework, you pick one, and that's your strong suit. I feel like you're gonna not just get to know that framework more extensively, but you're going to be able to take it to an advanced level, whereas the generalist isn't going to. You're going to be able to outperform that guy, I feel like, because you're there working with it, going in depth with it, and using it at a level, like continually growing at a level that guy's never going to touch because he's spread out everywhere. But like like a specialization in that context, that's what I'm talking about. But I know you mentioned a different context. I don't recall. I know there's another context you're trying to get at too.
Hey, so I appreciate that, and everything. The value of everything is based on perspective. So the most people realize and remember that. Thank you for adding everything too. We're coming up on. Actually, we're a little over the hour right now, so we're gonna wrap it up. What I want to say is, in response to what you were saying, for the people to wrap their heads around and make their own decision, is there's that phrase that's famous, jack of all trades, master of none, right? But the comma and continuation of that phrase people forget. It's jack of all trades, master of none, but master, or basically, but greater than, more than, being only a master of one, something like that, right? So yeah, jack of all trades. So you got a YT with many deep variables, um, or many, variable verticals. Let me say it like that. It's better than, because it gives you an understanding of the type of more potential beyond that one column silo. So what I want to do is, I appreciate that you added that though. Now, so we got a couple stats here, and then I want to wrap it up, give you guys closing remarks, and we can get out of here for today. 1 in 5 of recent grads couldn't find jobs related to their major. 8 in 10 recent grads had difficulty finding a job. 40% of unemployed grads are willing to expand the job search, accept lower pay, just simply to gain employment. So I think overall today we've shown how intellectual property, if we look at it as form as patents, copyrights, trademarks, trade secrets, industry designs, is pretty much what the universities are pumping out. So you basically come out of there with the equivalent of a license to operate or conduct that is accepted by certain people and entities. The question is our community going to step up and appreciate those who go beyond on their own, and allow the creativity to expand into the future of innovation? And give your closing remarks.
I think our community, I'm sorry to cut you off, Fernando. I think our community is moving into the direction of accepting the self-education and people's passion and creativity and the ways that they learn, um, over, and also the character too, over the credentials. We're still at that edge where credentials matter for a job, but they look for both the credentials and the passion. They want both of it. They want the good part of both ends. And I don't know how long it's gonna take for credentials of the formal education, the university factory, to become more into accredited ways of self-learning, that you can find paths to accredit it yourself through the self-learning, that those paths become very common and that most people go through those paths instead of going through the accreditation of the structure of years, like when they know what they want and they just take the courses that they see fit, they see needed at the profession that they want. They take those courses as much as they can, they do the self-learning, and they accreditate themselves through the means that they don't spend the time in the things that they feel like they're completely unnecessary. For example, for you as a 3-year-old, going into the school and being around the 3 year olds that are not at the intellectual level, that you could just take yourself and say, you know what, I'm 3, but I don't care. I'm just gonna go into 8th grade, gonna go into 11th grade, and I'm gonna compete at that level right there, along with the other people that are pretty much at the same intellectual level, know pretty much the same amount of things, and jump it.
Well said, Fernando.
All right, am I unmuted? All right, yeah, I'm unmuted. Okay, can you repeat that again for me? That last part, your question. How we're going to recap here?
Oh,
Uh,
okay. Basically, it was just, the question was, it was like just to throw out there for the community, because the community has the opportunity to value those who are self-learn. Like you brought up,
oh
to make it
yes,
make
yes.
sense.
You just jogged my memory. All right, I
Yeah,
got it. Thank you.
cool.
So, like what I was saying, sorry, it's because I have concussion symptoms right now from a car accident. All right, so like what I was saying was, um, I feel like in the tech industry, from what I've experienced and what I've seen, like people entering and finding different ways to enter. I feel like the tech industry is already incorporating acceptance of everybody, regardless of the path they chose to learn. So, like, I feel like if a big companies like Google or Amazon or whoever is out there hiring people that are self-taught, hiring people that went through a boot camp, hiring people that went through university, I think that the tech industry is already taking lead there. I think that there are some tech, companies, whether startups or big companies, that may require a university degree, maybe in a certain position, or maybe like overall for any position. But like I've seen, it looks like a bigger trend towards like we want top talent wherever we can find it, but we have a very difficult interview process in place because we wanted to find that top talent. We want to be able to filter everybody out and see where we can get the people that actually know how to perform their job versus the people that just went through the status quo, like the people that just went through the motions, cut and pasted. They have a piece of paper, but it's meaningless because when they're put on the spot, they really can't apply it because they weren't taking the extra steps or the practice necessary to be able to apply it on their own without relying on the cutting and pasting. But like that's just my perspective from the IT point of view. But like I believe that even though I believe it sucks to go through such a rigorous interview process, at the same time, I think it's there in place to search for to get a hold of the right talent, to be able to see that this person can actually build software. But now the next level, let's see how creative they are. Because if I had a guy that was a 4.0 GPA, or a guy that was self-taught, or even a guy that was a boot camp, and they all could do the job and the technical aspect of software, I would still be looking to see what the creative side looked like on top of that. And I wouldn't, just because the guy had a degree, I wouldn't put him on a higher pedestal than the other, because you don't know where you're going to find the top talent, and then you don't know where you're going to find that higher level of creativity. It could be on the lower end of things. Maybe that you don't know that person's life. Maybe they didn't have the same opportunities as the guy that went to Harvard. You know what I mean? But they're better. I mean, you might find that better. Maybe the guy that went to Harvard is better, but like you just don't know. The people are too unique, and I feel like you have to be open to finding that creativity anywhere it's at. Like you have to be willing to look in different places and be able to find them wherever they're at. So like that's how I feel about it. Like there's people that are smart, intelligent, creative everywhere, and I think the tech industry is already opening up they're opening up to that, and I think that's a great thing.
I agree with you, and I appreciate both you guys sharing um, your perspectives with us today for the benefit of the community long term and our journey, or on our journey to sustainable communities. I think what we've proven here today is that top talent doesn't necessarily doesn't necessarily always come from a university or college degree program. At the same time, the university and college degree programs may actually be hindering the rise of some top talent from our communities due to the things we mentioned in this video today, this conversation. So I appreciate that. Let's circulate this video. Let's get everybody chime in on their take on it and create a discussion in the community so we can all learn and benefit from it moving forward. Azur, let me say real quick, is actually on the path to creating their own educational infrastructure. Get with them on their website, Azur agency.org. Learn more about that. See how you can support. That's going to be a remedy. Everybody say bye to the people.
Good seeing you.
Yeah,
Always a perfect day. Fernando and Irina, I appreciate you both.
everyone
Pasha
stay
Paroh,
blessed.
Why That Seven, thank you for tuning